Good morning and welcome to Weekends with Whitney. It has been an agonizing summer across South Louisiana. Our most recent tragedy, the massive flooding. It's forced more than 100,000 people out of their homes. So this morning, we are leaning on one of the country's best design experts. Because there is so much rebuilding to be done, we're going to help you get it done affordably and give you some fresh ideas on the long road ahead. Meet interior designer Kenneth Brown. This Baton Rouge native has 2 hit TV shows under his belt: HGTV's Redesign and TLC's Overdesign. Now, here on Weekends with Whitney, he's designing a plan to help flooded Louisiana homeowners rebuild affordably.
I always believe that every budget deserves good design.
We'll take you inside the flooded home of Tanya Dillon and share with you his ideas for making it the best ever. Then Dr. Nick explores the flood of emotions we're all having and shares how we can repair the emotional damage. But first, we begin with rebuilding the place we call home. By now, most of the homes have been gutted and they're just drying out before the next phase of construction and rebuilding can begin. But before you, your loved ones, or even your friends start nailing back sheetrock, we turn to one of the country's top designers to get his idea on rebuilding with design, with purpose, and even on a shoestring budget. Just keep swimming or walking. I say let's go this way. Have you all rescued anybody that really moved you today? Y'all did. This is what tens of thousands of homes look like today across South Louisiana. It's heartbreaking to see so much of people's lives sitting on the side of the road. But famed designer Kenneth Brown says inside sits new opportunities.
Because the design principles apply no matter if you're doing a smaller space on a lower budget or the biggest houses. Design is still design.
Kenneth has designed big homes for big names like Zac Efron, Kristen Bell, and Vanessa Hudgens. But he says you don't have to have movie star money for your home to have its own star power.
I always believe that every budget deserves good design.
This week, I asked Kenneth if he'd join forces with me and design a plan for a flooded home. He agreed.
We'll do a little design segment.
And we chose Tanya Dillon's. It's a 3-bedroom, 30-year-old home off I-12 near Millerville. His ideas for her home will hopefully give thousands more some fresh ideas to consider before they rebuild.
It's amazing what a catastrophe can do to a house.
Quickly.
Right, very quickly. But I think also, too, it's a chance to see things in a new light. And what I find interesting is when you tear drywall off the walls, you really can see how things lay out in the house, and it's an opportunity to change.
This will be the first major change Tanya's done to her home since buying it 12 years ago. It's not in a flood zone, so she didn't buy flood insurance. Yet Saturday morning, only a boat rescue could save her from rapidly rising floodwaters. To make matters worse, before the flood, she lost her job. In the flood, she lost her car. And FEMA is still one big question mark. So there's no question her every dollar has to stretch. Her house filled with about a half foot of water. 4 feet of sheetrock had to be ripped out. But Kenneth says sheetrock doesn't have to go back in.
Beadboard, which comes in sheets of 4 by 8, 4 feet by 8 feet. If you don't feel like going the drywall route, go to your local home improvement store, buy 4 by 8 foot sheets of beadboard and install it exactly at the line where your drywall's been cut, and put a piece of trim chair rail and paint it. It is an easy, fresh look you can get without the expensive drywall and without the mess of drywall. So there are options out there besides drywall to do your walls.
And speaking of walls, Kenneth says now's the time you might consider knocking out a few.
You're dealing with almost a fresh palette. You're able to go through and say, you know what would improve my space? And because so much drywall has taken down, you can actually see where your floor footprint can increase. And the key is give yourself as much real estate or square footage to the space that you use the most. So whether it's a kitchen or if you need to increase your master bathroom or a closet, now's the time to do it.
What would improve Tanya's space is a bigger kitchen. She's cooked and catered her whole life. This kitchen's never been the size she needed.
I say we want to open it up. And you know, in kitchen designs, I always say real estate's key. How much space can we give it to line the walls with cabinetry? You have a pantry, which is great, but sometimes pantries can take up a good, 8 square feet that we could put in cabinetry and open up the kitchen. So I'm suggesting we move that pantry back, create a nice solid wall so we can do all cabinetry, more counter space. I'm also thinking we need to explore this. Are you sitting down?
Oh, yeah.
Those windows that you have in that bay area.
Oh, yeah, those long ones. Yeah.
Let's see if we can maybe get some that are a little shorter.
Short, yeah.
We can put cabinets under it, and then you've even gained more space.
Because I got a lot of stuff. I got a lot of pots and pans and trays, and I, eventually had to take over part of my laundry room to buy industrial shelving to put some of my things because I just didn't have cabinet space.
Right.
Even if the walls you want to tear down are support walls, there's an easy solution.
Even if there are some walls that are support, putting in a header is not that difficult, and put some posts for extra support, but visually opening up will make the house feel a lot larger.
Changing out windows isn't as expensive as you might think.
Today, there's so many great companies out there that offer windows in standard sizes, and that's the key. Stick to a standard size, and you can actually buy off-the-shelf windows from any major home improvement store. Off the shelf, these are the white aluminum windows, easy to get those, same size, pop them in, throw some shutters on, you're good to go.
Kenneth says if you're adding in new windows, brick and siding have different rules.
If you have a brick exterior, you're probably not going to want to put in new windows. It's just too much work. But if you're dealing with siding, it's easier to pop in a window than you would think. So my rule is if there's brick, avoid windows. If there's no brick and you have the room, put in a window.
This brick fireplace is another place to add space.
So I think that we should do that. Another thing is, it is Louisiana, it's hot. How do you feel with that fireplace?
Have not used it. I bought that house for 12 years ago and thought, well, it's pretty. I got stuff to put on the mantle. Other than that, I don't need that thing. It's hot enough.
Let's put it out by the road, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So I think if we were to open that up as well, we've really created an open floor plan, and people love that. It's just more flexibility for living, for entertaining. Let in some more light, by joining those rooms together.
Tanya's floored by another idea too.
There's a couple of bedrooms that never get used. How do you feel about a beautiful polished concrete or something simple? You can throw some throw rugs down.
And this may also help my hay fever because, it collects dust unless I'm in there vacuuming every day.
Right.
And then I thought, well, why can't I just not go back with it and, get plenty of rugs to put down?
Absolutely. And I think that's a really good way to save some money, is to think about how do you take dollars per square foot from one area and put it in an area you really function in. And that's your kitchen, your main living area.
Another design tip is to paint all of your rooms the same color. Go light and neutral.
It works better when all the rooms are the same color because what you bring into it's the color with your art, your accessories, your textiles, your draperies, your bedding. keep the walls all one light color throughout.
Sure,
and it's easy living. So in 5 years from now, when you're like, I need to touch up paint, there's one color.
There, yeah.
Not 6 colors, and you're like, maybe this one, nope.
Yeah.
This one, nope. This one.
That's
and I see that happen a lot.
This is what's left of the master bathroom. Kenneth has some easy ways to customize it.
Going with a freestanding furniture-style vanity, it's a great way to update a space, and it also will free up, let the room breathe a little bit when it's not wall-to-wall.
Yeah.
We're used to the wall-to-wall cabinet and the mirror that's wall-to-wall. Let's go a little more custom, and it doesn't cost a lot more just to make it feel like a piece of furniture, right?
Well,
and you're eclectic, you like that style.
Right.
You can bring personality, and then like a really pretty framed mirror that has some personality.
He also says, scrub the tub.
Redo the bathtub area. If you don't need a bathtub, at least you have one in the other bathroom, which is good for resale value. But in a master, we're taking those out and just turning that into a shower stall. And it's actually great for people who, you know, want to take showers, and we can just do all beautiful tile in there, and it could really free up the space and feel larger.
Yeah, that works for me.
The change out looks expensive, but it's not.
As far as cost is concerned, turning a tub to a shower, the only additional material you're going to have is just a little bit extra tile that you have to add where the tub is and the floor is. But the good news is we have our drain, we have our plumbing. It's not a huge expense, but it's a lot of bang for your buck when it comes to either resale value or an extra functioning space that feels larger, easier to get in and out of.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited about this, and I'm excited that, you know, through a sad, unfortunate circumstance, there's a light
Sure.
the tunnel that will improve your life in one way by making living there more enjoyable, exciting, and functioning for you.
Yeah, that sounds fun to me.
We're getting you all fixed up.
Oh, well, you know, it's a new slate, so let's move on to it. So.
Kenneth is going to see this project through with us. So we'll have weekly updates on the progress and hopefully have some more great ideas for you or those you love rebuilding their homes. And still to come. South Louisiana has been flooded with more than water, emotions. Dr. Nick helps us channel those emotions in a more positive direction as Weekends with Whitney continues.
Maggio, the only way to go. Maggio Buick GMC, your satisfaction's our specialty. We really deliver on Falls River, here in New Roads. Small town atmosphere, legendary service for over 60 years. Maggio, the only way to go. The only way to go, that's Maggio.
9-time winner of the prestigious GMC and Buick Mark of Excellence Award.
Classic Hits 103.3, Scott Ennis, welcome to the ride home. Put the seatbelts on, hug the babies when you get there.
Hey, Scott, coffee, water, trash need emptying?
Hey, Chris, we're good, man. Thanks for checking in now. Appreciate checking
Sure,
in.
sure.
Yeah. And by the way, I'm playing Beth just for you today.
You too much, man. I love you.
Oh, I know
give you a
you.
kiss.
No, that's okay. Yeah, seriously. We're good. Seriously.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Scott Ennis is back on 103.3 Classic Hits. We are going through a tragedy we didn't see coming, that we never expected. Dr. Nick is here to help us rebuild and repair our mental anguish and our mental flood that this caused. Good to see you.
Well said, Whitney. Mental flooding. And when we face disaster, the first impulse obviously is the survival instinct.
Yes.
You know, the higher self. Not that there's anything wrong with the lower self, because that's what's needed at this time. It's survival, which is what we did those first few days.
It's flagging down boats. It's people jumping in their boats to go rescue people they had never seen before, may never see again.
Yeah, the stories are just almost infinite of people waving and somebody coming by in a boat and getting them out. I know that because it happened with a member of my in-laws side of the family. So it has been certainly the first part of this trauma, which, as you laid out well, unexpected, which made it even more traumatic because we weren't prepared. the depth and the breadth of it, that we never could understand it or where it was traveling. Remember, from Denham and Baker, Zachary, and then
backwater flooding.
Then the backwater flooding, then Gonzales and Prairieville, and then there are those of us who didn't get hit with anything, so we're the survivors, and the guilt that comes from that. I mean, there's just this multi-layer of mental disorder, if you will, that's been going on in us.
I couldn't believe how, when I got on Facebook, there were some people who were flooding initially, and then the next day there would be much more. And I'm telling you, by day 3, I was like, half the people I know have been flooded.
Yes.
They've lost everything. And how can I help everyone? Well, it's impossible.
It is impossible. But what made this, if there is such a thing as a silver lining, is that there were survivors that could move and become that Army and that Navy and that rescue force that Katrina didn't have.
That's right.
See, I mean, there were those of us who could move at an instant and take on the role of the sprinter. As I was saying to you earlier before the show, there's an attitude of sprinter in that first few days, and now we've moved into the marathon, which is going to be, I think, the harder.
And you say it's
harder.
Right. It's going to get worse before it gets better.
It's going to get worse before it gets better, and we're going to get tired, and the adrenaline's going to start slowing down, and the anger's going to start coming out. Because the first part, remember we talked about this several weeks ago, the first response is fear. And the fear drives us to survival. Once we have jumped and we have survived, then the anger comes out.
Right.
Then the real grief comes out. Then the real tragedy of what have I lost? What's irreplaceable? What's really happened? Didn't you tell me something about someone said about
Jeff Johnson? I was talking to him the other day, 103.3, and he lost virtually everything. He was able to grab a coffee table and I think 2 nightstands and a crib. And he said, and I feel guilty because I was able to save something and other people didn't. But he said that he was talking to his mother and he said he just wasn't able to lay out his feelings, like, well, what am I really feeling? How can I describe this? And it hit him all of a sudden just the other day. So, you know, he's a week and a half into this. I feel like I did when my father died.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. So is it? Do we have to go through almost those stages of grief through something like this?
We do go through those stages. We do go through those stages, and the reason why we do is because we're people who become very attached, and they're never just things. They're never just things. Even the poorest of the poor are experiencing the loss. Perhaps not as great as those who had a great deal. But there's going to be loss experienced from all sorts of angles. The fact that cars flooded, the fact that, again, pictures and clothing was ruined, wedding dresses that, you know, were to be given to the next generation. This is really a tragedy that demands, I think, a tremendous amount of compassion on the part of all those who are helping. But what makes it even more difficult is that those who are helping are very often the people who have been struck. First responders lost homes.
Right. Police lost
homes. Fire people lost homes.
Even news media were out there.
Even news media
covering other people's homes flooding as theirs was taking on water.
I was watching yesterday. I said, you know, the hits keep on coming. We lost so many police cars.
Yeah.
We never think about that. And now the nonprofit organizations are going to suffer because how far will the money stretch?
Well, right, and the food bank, for example.
Food bank, Salvation Army, they were both flooded.
Oh, yeah.
But these are the realities that face us. Sure. You know, the real questions that I think that are important to me is how we're going to move forward, and how we're going to rebuild, and how we're going to catch ourselves from what we call the co-occurring disorders, the more substance abuse, the high anxiety, the triggers, the drug use, you know, the misdirected anger. So many disorders are going to be kind of throwing themselves around.
So we just need to be on the lookout for that. Am I over-medicating? Am I...
Self-medicating.
Yeah, dealing with this. And then how about the people whose children are not even back in school? And for some, it's going to be much longer.
I'm sorry to laugh.
No.
You told me my kids aren't going back to school till next week. I said, are you going to survive it?
I know. Well, they were going back, you know, one day, and then it was the next day, and then by Wednesday, they were like, it's going to be next week. I'm like...
But, you know, that's part of the rebuilding is the humor. We could never have enough of it. I mean, we really do have to just sit down and laugh, even as we cry.
Even as we cry.
Yes.
You're right, you're right. And for, you know, a lot of people, you know, they'll pick up and their luggage won't be as heavy. Their next move somewhere else, you know, won't be as big because their load has been lightened, not by their design.
Not by their design. But that really is, even though we have to be careful because the anger and the loss and the grief is still so strong. But I truly believe that these are the moments that over time will help us to once again reevaluate. And to reevaluate is to what is valuable. And life really is valuable. And to our great fortune, we only lost 13, I believe. Right. And I don't mean it as if
no, every life is precious.
Every life is precious.
It wasn't New Orleans where 1,500 or 1,800.
It wasn't New Orleans and it wasn't 9/11. And we really do have much of that to be grateful for, again, with fairness to that phrase.
But now, Nikki, a lot of things brought PTSD, like the people who went through Katrina. Now, whether they were in it and moved here and then lost their homes here, whether they had a house full of people again, it's anytime someone's been in any disaster, this brings all that back.
It sure does. But what's amazing about it, Whitney, is we don't even have to go back to Katrina. Yesterday, I saw a thunderstorm brewing and I shook. Oh, I know.
Oh, and
when I hear the weather alert on the phone.
One more time.
So this is the effect of trauma. And again, I just think an awareness of it is so important because again, the tendency is to dash, to kind of self-medicate. And we have to say, okay, that's a natural response.
Right.
See?
You had a group of people that you do grief counseling,
yes.
And they've gone through a lot of this. Well, what's the most prevailing feeling and emotion right now?
Shock still, I would say. I would say we're still in shock. And we're still in that kind of cleaning, practical, what's the plan? What will I do? What's next? What do I need to do? And those are all real issues.
Right.
We do need a plan.
Sure, and you know what we are in now? We're in the drying out phase for most part, except, you know, bless their hearts, some people like near Santa Mon and other parts that still have water in their homes. But I would say 90% at least, maybe a little more than that. You know, they've ripped out the drywall, they've ripped out the insulation, ripped out the carpeting. It's all sitting on the curb. And, you know, I wish that someone would come get it because I think that's hard to look at. But they're doing all this, but they can't start fixing till it dries out. So, you know, you're in a 5-7 day pattern, and it's, you know, what do we do now?
Which is a really interesting point you make. The practical side to this is what? Get the drywalls, right?
Yeah.
Prevent the molding.
Right.
Get the old carpet out. Could we take that and make that a mental platform? How could we keep ourselves from molding? Oh. How could we keep our minds from molding? How could we stay as clean as we can and that life is still going on? And love, you can't take away love. You can't take away kindness. You can't take away charity. That's why, Whitney, I just get so distraught when I see so much blame going around right now. This is not the time to blame any and everybody. All the forces of blame and looking for something or someone to pin it on.
Well, and as
it
FEMA
does no good.
Right. Well, and talk about anger when FEMA comes back with you're denied.
That's right.
Or instead of the thousands you thought, we're giving you hundreds. How do people cope with that?
Every time I hear the maximum is 30, I'm like, please stop saying it.
Oh no, please stop.
Because that really is the maximum.
Because I really thought most people were going to get that initially. I was like,
because that's what we just kind of take in.
Right.
Because that's what we want.
I know, and I want it for them. I want it for everyone.
And it's not going to be. It's not going to be. But again, to prevent that mold, to take out that drywall and stuff. I don't know, it just struck me as an interesting image from the practical, physical side to the mental, behavioral side. And then also, obviously, to make sure that we're around people and that we reach out and we're very specific in what we need. And we're very specific with what we offer. Someone said to me today that she doesn't say to people, you know, what do you need? She says, give me an assignment.
I like that.
And one of them was to do laundry, which is a great assignment.
That is a great assignment because there's lots that needs to to be claimed still.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you sharing your insight. It's going to be a long journey for all of us.
It is.
And we'll go through the stages of grief and anger and all those things. But in the midst of all the tragedy and all the horrible flooding, there was such beauty with people coming together. And people who've lost everything said, I never have felt this kind of love. So let's hold on to that,
Let's hold on to that, Whitney.
Right.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, good luck rebuilding
Be
everyone.
good to each other.
That's right. Much more Weekends with Whitney right after this.
Who says an old dog can't learn new tricks?
Do you want to learn how to inspire?
Learn to fly?
Or learn how to drive?
Take a run around this park.
Or this park?
Or this park?
And we'll teach you how to dance.
And reach for the sky.
No matter your age, BREC offers classes to keep you moving, learning, and having fun.
Visit BREC.org and see how together we've made BREC better than imagined.
Classic Hits 103.3, Scott Ennis. Welcome to the ride home. Put the seatbelts on, hug the babies when you get there. Later. I can't. I'm going to play it later, Chris. Chris, not now. I'm busy. I'm busy right now, buddy. Later. I'm going to play it for you later.
Scott Ennis is back on 103.3 Classic Hits. Atlas Foundation Repair, fixing your foundation problems for more than 30 years while preserving and protecting your trees. Thanks for joining us on today's show. I hope that we've been able to share with you and given you ideas and tools to make rebuilding all aspects of your life a little bit easier on the long journey ahead. If you'd like to watch this show again or share it with friends and loved ones, it's available right now on my YouTube channel, Weekends with Whitney. Have a great Sunday. We leave you this morning with some peace we found amidst what has been a chaotic week.